March 19, 2024, Brandon, Mississippi. A community that prides itself as the second safest city in the state was shaken by an unthinkable crime. A 14-year-old girl was taken into custody, accused of shooting her own family members in a chilling case that has left everyone asking, why? In this video, we'll break down the details of this shocking case and tackle the haunting question on everyone's mind. What could push a 14-year-old to commit such a devastating act against her own family? Let's dive in. Ashley Nicole Smiley, born in April 1983 in Stuart, Florida, was a devoted mother and a beloved algebra teacher at Northwest Rankin High School, where her 14-year-old daughter, Carly Gregg, also attended. Before joining Northwest Rankin, she taught at Warren Central High School for 5 years. A true Floridian at heart, Ashley cherished the state's beaches and delighted in family trips to Disney World. Her passion for education was recognized in 2022 when she was honored as the New Teacher of the Year. Ashley lived in a 3-bed, 2-bath home on Ashton Way with her husband, Heath Smiley, Carly, and their 2 golden retrievers, Wyatt and Finn. Family members described her as a devoted mother who loved reading and spending quality time with her loved ones. An exceptional student who had skipped the 4th grade, Carly had no history of behavioral issues until she recently began exhibiting troubling signs. She and her mother clashed when her mother discovered Carly had a secret boyfriend and decided to take her phone away. Ashley and Heath considered these challenges typical adolescent growing pains, part of Carly's natural quest for independence. They believed they were dealing with regular teenage behavior, unaware of the deeper issues Carly was facing. As such, Carly was undergoing therapy for anxiety and stress. According to court testimony from her stepfather, other stressors included Carly's biological father, Kevin Gregg, who struggled with drug addiction. He had allegedly allowed Carly to drink beer at the age of 12. The custody battle over Carly was contentious, and Ashley reportedly feared Kevin to the point of keeping a loaded firearm in the house for protection. Tuesday, March 19, 2024. Ashley and Carly returned home from school shortly after 4 p.m., and they would soon clash again. Ashley had received information that her daughter was smoking marijuana through vape pens. As soon as she and Carly got home, Ashley entered Carly's bedroom to search for the evidence. At that time, only Ashley and Carly were present. Home surveillance footage shows Carly holding an object behind her back out of the camera's view as she walks toward the bedroom to confront her mother. According to prosecutors, just seconds after the shooting, Heath received a text message from Ashley's phone asking, "When will you be home, honey?" After getting a reply, Carly frantically messaged her teenage friend to come over to help with an emergency. When the friend arrived at the front door, Carly asked, "Are you squeamish around dead bodies?" She then escorted her friend to the bedroom to show her her mother lying on the floor. Carly allegedly turned to her friend and said, "I put 3 in my mom, and I have 3 more for my stepdad when he gets home." Shortly after, Carly allegedly took down the interior camera and placed it in the refrigerator. According to the home's outdoor surveillance footage, Heath arrived at 5:03 p.m. feeling nothing was out of the ordinary. However, he was unprepared for what awaited him. In court testimony, Heath explained what he encountered next.
I want to talk to you about, tell the ladies and gentlemen, Heath, and I know it's probably difficult, you can take as much time as you need. Tell the ladies and gentlemen exactly what you remember about when you came home on March the 19th, 2024.
Everything seemed pretty normal, and I came on in, and when I opened the door to the kitchen there, gun went off in my face before the door was, I don't know, 3 or 4 inches wide open, and everything kind of went pretty fast from there. It was a blur. So.
What's the location of your emergency? What daughter tried to shoot me? Your daughter tried to shoot you? Yeah. She was shooting at me. Where's she at? She ran away. How old is she? 14. 14?
Upon arrival, deputies found Heath lying on the ground outside the front door, having been grazed by a bullet to the neck area.
What did your son wear?
He was in jeans and a grayish t-shirt. He's got short, brownish hair.
So, jeans, a gray t-shirt, short brown hair.
She ran into the backyard. I tried to follow her. She jumped the fence and ran. She shot me
She
in the
jumped.
head. It's okay.
Does she still have the gun?
It's on the kitchen counter. I think there's one light round left in it. I'm just under. I went in the back door. She tried to shoot me.
Hey, I need some gloves. Hey, he's saying that she ran towards Magnolia Place.
Are you sure?
He's grazed, but he's too soon. It went through his shirt.
You got her right there.
Magnolia Place, they gave us subdivision.
She ran over the side back towards my vehicle. She might have looked around this way.
Might look back going back towards the pond right there.
After the shooting attempt, Carly fled the scene by jumping over a backyard fence. Deputies, with the help of a Mississippi Highway Patrol helicopter, launched a search of the area. Carly was found not far from the residence. She was taken into custody without further incident about 30 minutes after the 911 call came in. Based on the evidence and circumstances at the scene, Carly was charged as an adult with murder, attempted murder, and tampering with evidence. Bond was set at $1 million. She pleaded not guilty to all charges and remained in custody pending trial. Five months after the shooting, Carly was offered a plea deal that would result in 40 years in prison, which she rejected through her defense team. Thus, opening statements in the Mississippi versus Carly Gregg trial were heard on September 16th. If convicted, she faced life imprisonment for murder, 20 years to life for attempted murder, and 10 years for tampering with evidence. Prosecutors painted a picture of Carly Gregg living a double life before killing her mother and attempting to kill her stepfather. They argued that her parents had no idea she was still texting her boyfriend, using burner phones, smoking marijuana before school, or hiding secret social media accounts. Prosecutors called it a clear-cut case, emphasizing that the autopsy confirmed the cause of death as gunshot wounds to the head, with the manner being homicide, undisputed facts. They insisted Carly's actions, both before and after the shootings, proved that she wanted her mother dead. The defense had an alternative perspective.
Good afternoon. I know it's been a long morning for you all, so I will try to do this as briefly as possible. This is not a whodunit case. We know who took action on March 19th to bring about the death of Ashley Smiley and the injuries to Heath Smiley. However, this is a why case. Why did it happen? Why did this exceptional child with no history of violence, who was loved by her friends, her teachers, her parents, who had a good home life, who loved her mother, why did she shoot her mom? Why did she shoot at her stepfather? The state would like you to believe the answer to those questions don't matter, but we know better than that. The answers to those questions is why we're here today, and it's what you're here to do. We believe the evidence will show that there were 3 victims on March 19th: Ashley Smiley, Heath Smiley, and Carly Gregg, that they were all 3 victims. We believe the evidence will show that Carly had been suffering from a mental illness, that Carly was not aware on March 19th that she had a mental illness. We believe the evidence will show that Carly's parents, who lived with her, were not aware that Carly was suffering from a mental illness. We believe the evidence will show that Carly's close friends, who saw her at school every day, were not aware that Carly was suffering from a mental illness, because it's hard to look at a person and understand that they have a mental illness. It's hard to look at a person and know that they have a mental illness. That's why it's often referred to as the invisible disease. A person can exhibit symptoms of a mental illness without people necessarily knowing that they have one, or other people necessarily knowing that's what another person has. While the events on March 19th were tragic, the events on March 19th were not intentional.
The defense called Dr. Andrew Clark, a forensic psychiatrist, to the stand to provide expert testimony about Carly's mental state before, during, and after the shootings.
What, if anything, were you able to gauge about Carly's having any behavioral issues or a history of behavioral issues?
So it was my impression that Carly had, to a very large extent, always been well behaved, was a dutiful girl, sought to do well in school, sought to please her mother by doing well in school. And then in the last perhaps year, developed some what I took to be relatively common teenage behaviors, such as staying up past curfew on a burner phone to text with friends, for example. I think on one occasion she snuck out at night after curfew to go visit a friend. And then in addition, in the last perhaps 6 weeks prior to the arrest, she began smoking marijuana.
What, if any, past history of trauma did Carly have?
So Carly had had a somewhat difficult childhood in a couple of different ways. One is that she had a younger sister who died of a medical illness when Carly was about 4 years of age, and the younger sister was around 18 months of age. And Carly reported to me that that was hard for her. She remembered it happening, and it was difficult for her. Secondly, her parents divorced when she was around 4 or 5 years of age. She reported to me that she remembered a lot of arguing, and that she recalled having seen her mother having been bruised or injured by her father, that there was domestic violence, although she never witnessed it directly. She told me that her mother had informed her that the father had beaten her. And she told me that she recalled she and her mother leaving late at night as the parents separated. She told me that She, and it's my understanding as well from records, that Carly had court-ordered visitation with her father about every other week, but that was difficult, that she found her father to be angry, unreliable, that at times he would just sit in a chair all day long and not speak to her, that at times he wouldn't help her get food or fluid. And there was one incident in particular when she was around 6 years of age, when something the father had done frightened her and she ran and hid under the bed. And this was an incident that continued to bother her. She also told me that her father was a dangerous and scary driver, and it was scary for her to drive with him. Carly told me that for at least the last few years, she had at times restricted her food intake, at times had binged and then purged by making herself throw up. She told me that she had never taken laxatives or diuretics, but that she had been engaging in these eating disorder behaviors for, on a somewhat regular basis. She told me that she had never actually lost a substantial amount of weight, but she'd been doing these things for at least a couple of years. And so she was having, if I may, mood issues, eating disorder issues, cutting herself, hearing voices, and sleeping difficulty, all, I guess, leading up to January of 2024.
Dr. Clark added that he diagnosed Carly with bipolar II disorder. He claimed that her antidepressants, which were changed just weeks before the shootings, may have exacerbated her mental state. Heath Smiley, the surviving victim and stepfather of the accused, took the stand on the second day of the trial. In his extensive testimony, he detailed his encounter with Carly on the day of the shooting.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do. Have a seat. Adjust yourself up to the mic. You understand that you're now under oath and your answers will be sworn answers under penalty of perjury.
Yes, sir.
All right. You may proceed.
If you would introduce yourself to the ladies and gentlemen.
My name's Heath Smiley.
And Heath, we've met before today, that's right?
Yes, ma'am.
If you would, though, these ladies and gentlemen don't know you, so if you would just kind of tell them a little bit about how old you are.
39 years old. I'm a physical therapy assistant, and I've been Carly's stepdad for, it was almost, I guess, 3.5 years.
And so on that day, the second door was what was closed.
Yes.
I believe you said that you didn't get it open probably 3 or 5 inches before it went off. What did you remember seeing, Heath?
Just gun flash in my face, and then it went off 2 more times, but my hand was on the gun after the first shot, and I twisted it from her.
Who was pointing that gun at you?
It was Carly.
Who pulled the trigger when you opened the door?
The first one I know was Carly. After that, my hand was on the gun too, and I know I had a scratch on my thumb and all. I very well could have hit it, I know, that third time.
How close, Heath, was that gun to your face when that went off?
Maybe a foot.
Did you ever get struck by a bullet?
Yes, one of them kind of grazed right through this muscle up here.
Can you tell, ladies and gentlemen, what did that feel like?
I know this sounds weird, but I honestly have never felt it to this day.
Walk us through, you said that you were able to at some point get the gun from her. Tell us, Heath, what is it that you remember after that?
She was screaming out of her mind, scared. It was like she had seen a demon or something. She was terrified. And my first thought was, there was an intruder somewhere and she thought she was after somebody else.
And to be clear, Carly never told you that she thought somebody else was in the house, right?
No, that's the feeling that I got. She was terrified out of her mind.
And at that time, you did not yet know that your wife was dead, right?
No, not at that time.
So Carly's scared. She's screaming when she shoots at you. How many shots went off from that gun?
At that time, there was 3.
What type of gun was it that you took from Carly?
It was my Taurus revolver.
And what type of what caliber of weapon is that?
So the gun is a .357 Magnum, but I think it had 38 special rounds in it. You can, if the gun's a .357, it can also shoot 38s. A little bit lighter recoil.
And what color was that gun?
It's just the gun matte silver.
Prior to taking it out of Carly's hand, where was the last time you saw that gun?
I actually kept it on her side of the bed. So it had been there for probably a couple years.
When you say on her side of the bed, was it on a nightstand or was it somewhere else?
I think she kept it, we had little cubbies underneath the edge of the bed the mattress is sitting up on. I think it was sitting up under there.
Between the mattress and the cubbies,
Well,
underneath the mattress?
I think she just had it in a cubby under there.
Was the gun just loose or was it in some sort of holster the last time you saw it?
I do not recall that. It was a while back. It had been sitting for a long time.
Did you have other guns in the house on that day?
Yes, I had an old shotgun that I've had for years that's unloaded in the closet, and I had an AR that I had gotten, it was also unloaded in the closet.
Heath, at some point, there was a no contact order put in place between you and Carly.
Yes.
Did you ask the court to lift that?
Yes.
And since that time, you've had contact with her?
Yes.
At any time during your communication with Carly, has she told you that she was not the person that killed her mother?
No. We have not had any kind of conversation, anything like that. Nothing to do with the case or the trial.
Do you see Carly in the courtroom, Heath?
Yes.
If you could you point her out?
Right there.
And could you tell me where at that table that you pointed at that she's sitting?
She's in between Mr. Camp and Miss Todd in black.
And is that the same person that shot you with that .357 Magnum on March the 19th, 2024?
Yes.
May the record reflect the defendant's identified that the witness has identified the defendant.
Record reflect has identified the defendant.
Do you think that if someone shoots at me unprovoked, that that's a violent offense?
I guess so. It really depends on the circumstances.
Again, unprovoked. I'm walking into this courtroom and out of nowhere, this gentleman closest to the door, as soon as I open it, pulls out a gun and fires it at me. Is that a violent offense?
It could be. Depends on the circumstances.
You said that Carly, you never saw her get mad or yell?
I have never seen Carly just angry or anything.
Never.
No, ma'am. She's always been just a happy little girl.
Was she a happy little girl when we just heard the video when she was firing a gun at you?
Like I said, I've never seen anybody like that. Even in movies, she was not herself, and like I said, I do not believe she even recognized me. She was terrified.
And Heath, I believe on direct, when I asked you about medications, you actually didn't handle Carly's prescriptions or medications, right?
No, Ashley was making sure she was taking them.
I want to talk to you, Mr. Smiley. You said that law enforcement came over a couple times and they didn't find these cameras. Did Miss Todd and Mr. Camp come over to your house at some point?
Yes, they did.
And when was that?
I think it was after the second police search.
And at any point, did they also conduct a search of your house?
They came through and wanted to take pictures and get the layout of the house.
Did they take anything from the house?
I think they took a couple pieces of her artwork and a couple things like that, but I'm not certain at this time.
And you don't know as to what they did with those, do you?
I do not.
Did they ever find the camera in the refrigerator?
No.
Court's indulgence. There are no further questions.
May this witness be finally excused by the state.
After 3 days of testimony, the defense appeared to be in a hopeful position in terms of their strategy, which was to prove not guilty by reason of insanity. Their approach relied on the notion that a jury would be reluctant to severely punish a 14-year-old girl grappling with mental health issues despite the severity of her actions. The testimony from their expert psychiatrist reinforced this approach, providing evidence of Carly's psychological struggles that could mitigate her culpability. Moreover, the surviving victim and stepfather Heath took the stand and unexpectedly bolstered the defense's case. Instead of expressing animosity or ill will toward Carly, he demonstrated compassion and support for his stepdaughter. His demeanor could evoke sympathy from the jury and influence the perception of Carly's actions and character. However, the dynamics of the trial shifted on the fourth day. After the defense rested its case, the prosecution called a number of mental health practitioners to the stand, one of whom was psychiatric nurse practitioner Olivia Lieber. As a medical professional who directly interacted with Carly, NP Lieber's insights could give the jury a different perspective on Carly's mental state and responsibility for her actions.
All right, good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. Did everyone follow the court's instructions overnight? Did anyone allow themselves to be exposed to any media accounts, any social media, or any news account of this case? Everyone shaking their head in the negative. We will proceed. All right, the defendant having rested, the state may call any witnesses it wishes to call in rebuttal.
The state calls Olivia Lieber.
Olivia Lieber.
Swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. I do.
Have a seat. You may adjust yourself up to the microphone. You don't have to speak directly into it.
Okay.
But I do need you to speak so that lady in the very back row over there can hear you.
Got it.
You understand that you're now under oath and answers are sworn answers subject to penalty of perjury.
Yes, sir.
All right, you may proceed.
If you would, Olivia, introduce yourself to these men and women.
I'm Olivia Lieber,
And Olivia, where do you work?
Precise Mind.
And tell us a little bit about what Precise Mind is.
It's an outpatient mental health clinic, and we do research and mental health care for all ages.
Just to be clear, you're a little nervous today, right?
Yes, yeah, I am.
Is this your first time to ever testify?
Yes.
All right. How do you, and what is your role at Precise?
I'm a psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner.
And can you kind of tell us a little bit about what that is and what you do?
Yeah. I got a degree with a master's degree in advanced nursing practice. So I chose to specialize in psychiatric mental health. The nurse practitioner program requires 1,200 hours of clinical practice, and we have to do different specialty groups, have experience with different specialty groups like geriatrics, adolescents, outpatient and inpatient psychiatry. So it's just a specialized nurse practitioner role, provider role.
And when did you do that?
That was 2.5 years ago, and I graduated in December 2021.
And have you been at Precise the whole time since then?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And what is it that you do I know you told us that you're a nurse practitioner there, but what is it that you actually do, like, with patients at
Okay,
Precise?
we evaluate them and assess them, and we diagnose and then do medication management.
When you're evaluating them, is it important that they provide you accurate information?
Oh yes, very.
And why is that?
Because we base our diagnosis on that.
I want to take you, Olivia, to there's a section in that assessment about thought processes. Could you tell us about what you observed and what your records indicate about whether or not Carly was having abnormal or psychotic thoughts on January the 15th, 2024?
She denied those.
And did she ever tell you that she was having those types of thoughts before January the 15th of 2024?
No, she denied hallucinations or delusions.
And what was your diagnosis of Carly from your encounter with her in January 15th of 2024?
Adjustment disorder with mixed anxiety and depressed mood, and then major depressive disorder, single episode, moderate severity.
So for those of us that are not in the medical field, will you break that down for
Yeah.
us and just tell us kind of what that means?
Sure. An adjustment disorder is basically just based on a stressful situation that might have happened that is their reaction to that. So it's pretty common, especially in her age group. So, and then I specify, there's a specifier that you can add that says with mixed anxiety or depressed mood. So I added that. And then major depressive disorder. And then you can specify single episode or if it's been recurrent, and then the severity, if it's moderate or severe or minimal.
And you put single episode. Can you tell us what you meant by that?
Just that it wasn't chronic that I was aware of at that time.
Okay. And so, and again, you're just able to render your opinions based off the information provided to
Right.
you. You had the opportunity to provide treatment to Carly. Was that on February the 14th of 2024?
Correct.
And the notes I'm looking at say that was a telemed.
Right.
And it was mom was present. So tell ladies and gentlemen, what does that mean, telemed?
They just have the option to do in person or a Zoom call for their appointment.
And what did Carly tell you? There's sort of a history provided by the patient. What did she tell you about the medication she was on at that point?
That it had not really had an impact on her at that time.
And so kind of what was your discussion about? We're on 25 milligrams, and then what did you talk to them about?
How it's affected them and if they've had any bad side effects. And if they have not, then, and it has not done anything like for her at that point, then we usually go up on it.
And I want to talk about those side effects because your medical records specifically say the patient denied SI, HI, and AVH. So if you could walk us through, what does it mean when it says patient denied SI?
Suicidal ideations.
And when she denied HI, what is that?
Homicidal ideation.
And what about when she denied AVH?
Auditory visual hallucinations.
So she's denying seeing things that other people don't see and hearing things that other people don't see.
Right.
Did she also deny any other side effects from the medication?
Right.
You did a mental assessment and risk assessment on Miss Gregg again on that day. Can you walk us through that day? Was she oriented to time, place, and person?
Yes.
And did she report having any trouble with recent memory or remote memory?
No, not that I saw.
Down under thought processes, did she report having any abnormal or psychotic thoughts?
No.
Rebecca Kirk, a licensed professional counselor and owner of Magnolia Counseling in Madison, also testified about her sessions with Carly. Kirk said that she met with Carly weekly for 9 sessions before the shootings. During these meetings, she stated that Carly never mentioned using illegal drugs, experiencing hallucinations, or having any memory issues. Notably, neither Carly nor her mother reported any episodes of derealization, dissociation, or blackouts. However, Kirk did note that Carly expressed frustration that her friends weren't as committed to school as she was. Kirk also mentioned that during their sessions, Carly spoke about reading Crime and Punishment by Fyodor Dostoevsky. The novel centers on a protagonist who kills a woman believing that extraordinary individuals can justify immoral acts for a greater good. The prosecution then introduced Dr. Amanda Gugliano, director of the Forensic Evaluation Service at Mississippi State Hospital. Dr. Gugliano testified that she interviewed Carly and, after assessing her medical records, found her competent to stand trial. Following Dr. Gugliano was Dr. Jason Pickett, a forensic psychiatrist at North Mississippi State Hospital. He evaluated Carly and concluded that she did not meet Mississippi's standard for insanity at the time of the offense. Dr. Pickett further stated to the jurors, "I highly doubt and do not believe that Carly has bipolar disorder," and then dropped this bombshell to the jurors.
Then I also said some psychopathic traits. And I don't use that word lightly, especially in an adolescent. But as I was reviewing her journal, where she says it's okay to be evil, when I see the callous nature in which she left her dead mother to text her next intended victim, and then even used the word honey, that is callous. And it is very concerning to me. In her journal, she often talked about, there were violent themes. I think she may have some with her friends. As I was reviewing Discovery, there's memes about violence. There's often this mix of fantasy, dark humor, and violence. I've seen a lot of memes. I won't go into them, but the callousness of which she did that. She has this superficial charm. She's charming. She's very likable. I liked her when I did the interview. I don't like saying any of these things, but I truly believe them. And so she's very charming. Manipulation. She took extensive notes about how to manipulate.
With the testimony wrapped up and all evidence presented, the fate of the now 15-year-old Carly Gregg rests in the hands of the jury. The jury has two choices: find Carly Gregg guilty or not guilty by reason of insanity. If they decide she's not guilty, they must determine whether her sanity has been restored. If they believe she remains a threat to society, she won't walk free. Instead, she'll be sent to the state hospital for further evaluation, where a treatment plan will be developed. This is no simple decision, and the consequences of their verdict will dictate Carly's future and her potential risk to the public.
Ms. Gregg, please rise and come to the podium, along with your attorneys. All right, the verdicts appear to be in proper form. Verdict of the jury is count 1. We, the jury, find the defendant, Carly Madison Gregg, guilty of first-degree murder as charged in the indictment. Count 2. We, the jury, find the defendant, Carly Madison Gregg, guilty of attempted murder as charged in the indictment. Count 3. We, the jury, find the defendant, Carly Madison Gregg, guilty of tampering with evidence as charged in the indictment. Please be seated, Ms. Gregg. Ladies and gentlemen, the jury, is custom for the court to poll the jury. I have to do it each time. And for each count, I'm not being rude. The quickest way for me to get through this is to simply point at you and you answer out loud. As to count 1, we, the jury, find the defendant, Carly Madison Gregg, guilty of first-degree murder as charged in the indictment. Beginning on the first row, ma'am, is that your verdict? Yes, sir. Sir, is that your verdict? Yes, sir. Ma'am, is that your verdict? Yes. Sir, is that your verdict? Yes. Ma'am, is that your verdict? You got to answer out loud, ma'am. I'm sorry. Yes. On the back row, sir, is that your verdict? Ma'am, is that your verdict? Ma'am, is that your verdict? Yes. Sir, is that your verdict?
In the end, Carly Gregg was convicted and sentenced to life in prison for the murder of her mother and the attempted murder of her stepfather. The decision to turn down the plea deal, which would have given her a lesser sentence, clearly backfired. The jury weighed the evidence, her secretive life, and the devastating impact of her actions, ultimately concluding that her mental health struggles did not absolve her of responsibility for these horrific crimes. For a community shaken to its core, the verdict brings a sense of closure, but it's a bitter resolution. A mother lost, a family shattered, and a young girl condemned to spend her life behind bars. It's a case that will haunt everyone involved for years to come, a reminder of how hidden turmoil can lead to unimaginable tragedy.